Welcome to Street Smart Spirituality with your hosts, Barry and Cole, where each week we will be discussing diverse topics of spirituality, including the right use of will, A Course of Love, A Course in Miracles, The Way of Mastery, and much more. Join us on a global spiritual adventure with Cole in Australia and Barry in the U.S. All right, everybody, welcome to episode 5 of Street Smart Spirituality. I am Barry, your host in the U.S., and we've got Cole down in Byron Bay, Australia. Say hello, Cole.
Hello, Barry. How's it going over there?
Good. So this episode, we decided we're going to touch a little bit upon the Course in Miracles. How does that sound with you?
Sounds good to me.
Well, you've got far more experience than I do. You've been studying it for what, 30 years or 25 years?
Yeah, 30 years. I think 35 years ago I started hearing some people talking about it. It was mentioned in some works. And then one day somebody dropped a book in my lap. And at the same time I was beginning to hear this voice within me. This profound voice that never said much. I always said like 1 or 2 or 3 words. But they were loud and clear and incredibly touching. They were already a miracle that something like that happened in my life and completely redirected my life into a totally different path that I was on.
You're talking about a literal voice or just kind of a intuitive nudging? No,
it was actually out loud. To a point where I kind of looked around if there was somebody behind me or below me or wherever it came from. But it was such a profound voice that it stopped me in my tracks. I was going to buy myself another set of speakers because the 15 I had wasn't enough. And, and then this voice just said, "You don't need this." And it just I broke down just hearing that voice, because it wasn't about that. It was just stop doing what you're doing and remember who you are. That was the subtitle of that message. But it took me a long time to realize that that's what it was. And then suddenly this book is in my lap. And I'm looking at it, and then it was like, I don't know which one to use. Spanish to me or Chinese to me, or which one do you use? Anyway,
you're talking about 30 years ago, right? That was right in the middle of the. It seems like every time a piece of work, a monumental piece of work like this comes out, within a year or two, there's always division among people that follow it or read the course, and one, it happens every time. So which edition did you choose to follow?
Oh, it wasn't about edition. I was talking about like it was like Spanish to me. Like I couldn't understand any of it.
Oh, okay.
And yes, you're right. There are 2 or 3 editions, and I think people are just needlessly arguing which one is right. Let me tell you, they all work because I used all of them, and the way my mind got transformed. And it really doesn't matter which version you use. So to answer that question, yes, there it is. There's no difference.
Yeah, that people that get that persnickety about the wording and the punctuation, they're missing the whole point to begin with. So, yeah, like you said, it doesn't matter.
Yes. Yeah. Well. Look, let me just start straight into what it is, So, Course in Miracles is really a mind training. It's not necessarily heart training. We could say to some extent it trains us to feel, because it teaches us from the very beginning to slow down and really feel the message. If you just make Course in Miracles a mind thing, it kind of tends to stuck in the mind, and then you compare your old thoughts with new thoughts, but it's still just your thoughts. And Course in Miracles really a a mechanism that helps us to dislodge our mind from our fixed position, because thick thinking creates density, and our body is supposed to be free and flowing and more liquid than dense, and thinking make it so. Whatever you think, you create, you put out there, and then whatever you think creates your body to be whatever you think. And so there's a undoing right there at the beginning. It helps you to dislodge your structures and your beliefs, and it pretty much empties your mind of everything that you've loaded your mind up with. So pretty much many people, or generally we get programmed, by parents, by our schools, and that programming is flawed. It's based on separation, and it's ego thinking. It's a separate mind thinking, and it creates structures and beliefs, and then you believe something, and next minute you're creating a reality based on one belief. And if that belief is wrong, or a bit dense, then you're creating a reality for yourself that not necessarily going to make you happy. Because the way I understand it now, we were created pretty happy, and we got into this habit of seriousness, and we forgot who we are. And who we are is this exquisite expression that cannot be described. What Course of Miracles did for me, it's dislodge my mind from its fixed position and help me to remember God. And that is an experience of unspeakable love. And to talk about it, it's not easy. But it is a very much a book, experiential book that helps you to experience rather than come up with concepts. Course of Love says, teach what you are, or teach only love, for that is what you are. And so what people do with it, they take the text from the Course and they teach the text from the Course, and it's not what it's saying. It's saying, hey, when you do the text and when you do the practices, you remember who you are, and then you teach that just by being it, and to heal is to make happy. And if you're full of concepts and structures that will not keep you happy, they create density. So, yeah, I don't know if that makes any sense, but that's pretty much it. Like, also, it's a course in what? Miracles. And what is a miracle? Miracle is that you stop what you think is right and you remember God. You stop this mad thinking and you remember yourself, because you were created as God. You're the same. You were created in the image of God, but that word image makes it look like we're talking about bodies and people, but it's actually not so. So miracles, as I said, and unspeakable experience of love, and then you walk that way. I know you walk in gratitude, because you just remember who you are, and you are actually happy for no reason at all. You're just happy, and the world could be going crazy around you, and there could be things happening, and it does not really affect you so much. And there are times I forget, and it doesn't matter really, because I just said, I just got myself caught up in density, and here I am, and then boom, it's released. So, incredible book. It's divided into 3 sections. One is text, which is all about it. Then there is a workbook which has a lesson for every day. And what I really like about it, it reminds you to practice often. And rather than sitting somewhere on a mountain or in your room closed off from reality that's around you, we call world, you take these practices into the world and you find yourself at peace wherever you go. And I love that because, if you sit on your bum and you meditate for 3 or 4 hours a day, that's lovely. But then you hit the world and it just gets all very difficult, as opposed to train your mind in a different way of looking at everything, and you find peace wherever you go. So I kind of like that, how it becomes very practical, and it sends you into the marketplace and it gets you to practice things. So you actually see the face of Christ in all your brothers and sisters, and you remember who you are in that sense.
Didn't you say that either this year or last year you picked up a software app for your smartwatch, and that you said that that constant reminder through the day really took your learning up to a next level?
Yes. So I've been doing this now for 30 years, this Course in Miracles. I did have some time off because I was doing something else. I kind of clashed with it for a while. But most of all, I've done it a lot. And I translated Course in Miracles, a lot of Course in Miracles, into my original language, which is Slovakian. So that helped me a lot. But 5 years ago, I got this application because I thought, it would be nice to have the lessons on my phone. But also it had a timer on it. And this was incredible. I realized that in those 25 years, I've never really done the lessons the way they are suggested to be done. And so I set up this timer, and it went off every hour or every half hour or every 15 minutes at times, and sometimes 3 times a day, sometimes just twice a day. And it's constantly different. It has a constantly different suggestions, so everything doesn't become like a ritual either. And that was the year that the most incredible awakening came my place, because I was applying it in at times where I would normally not apply it. I'm talking to somebody who is mildly irritating me, and boop, there comes a lesson. I'm going like, oh wow, hey, remember God now, boom. And even while I'm still talking to them, I'm remembering to practice my lessons. So that was incredible. And actually, at that same time, 4 years ago exactly, today is the day when I got Course of Love, which is an incredible continuation of Course in Miracles. And I got it on 1st of August. And then on 8th of August, I had this most incredible awakening with it that lasted 40 days. And I don't think I was ever same since, So this was a really, really good. I think that helped me a lot to do this constant practice, constant application. And I also, when I teach music kids, I say do it more often than long periods of times on Saturday, So, incredible way of doing it. More often is better than long periods on certain days, let's say.
Any suggestions for new students that are just picking up the book as far as how to study it, whether to study themselves or to maybe join a forum or a group? What's your suggestions?
It's individual. Some people will be drawn to text. I know people who just read the text and they can't stand the workbook. There's some people who can't stand the text and only read workbook. So it's individual. There's no set rule, but I could say a few things that I found helpful, helped me a lot. And one of them was to slow down. to slow down with the text, slow down with reading, and really feel the lessons. See, Course in Miracles is a mind training. It helps mind to train itself from seeing things differently than before. Yeah, and also from another way of seeing things. And in this society, everything is so rushed. And Course in Miracles say, hey, here is a title. I just want you to repeat this few times until you begin to feel it, you know. When you say, you know, I feel the love of God within me now, for example. You need to get in touch with this I. Who? I. Who is that? I. You know, I what? Feel. I feel. Then feel it. Because you can't think the love of God with you now, you know. It's a feeling thing. It's an experience. And anything that's an experience is a feeling thing. And if you don't know how to feel, you're going to study this book with your mind, and it will just get you back into your mind. So one of the things that I really recommend is to slow down and let the words take you where they are taking you. And if you can slow down enough, that is a miracle in itself. And because it says it's in stillness that you hear the voice within. And when we slow our pace, even right now, I say slow down. Yeah, let go of everything you think you know, because everything we know, it's just stuck in our mind, and the mind is in the way. It's not even the mind, it's even something in the mind that's like a little disease that we're so attached to, that makes us think like mad. And also that why we think so much, people wonder, why am I thinking so madly in a night or in a day, constantly thinking, is due to lack of feeling. Because you either feel or you think. And there's such a habit of thinking. So this Course in Miracles helps to put the thoughts aside and put different level of thinking in, the one that helps you to dislodge the structures and brings you into wholeness of who you are in your whole being. So that's one of the key things with Course in Miracles, to slow down, really take time, and also those how often you do it a day. You really remember. I remember at the beginning I would say, okay, let's do this lesson. I wake up in the morning, I do the lesson, and then at 4 o'clock I go, oh, I haven't applied it once, because the world is designed to make you busy. And so it took me a lot of years to even get disciplined enough to actually really do it. So getting an application on a phone is incredible, because it just gently reminds you, hey, it's time to practice. And it's not necessarily you have to open up the whole thing and study it. You just remember the title of the lesson, for example, or sometimes you just remember, I said, like, oh, there is another way of seeing things, and bang, you're practicing. And eventually, this sound that comes from my phone, it's almost like, Pavlov dogs, like goes every 15 minutes, and then you start salivating for God. You like salivate for love and for wholeness and for for your heart to explode into its natural course of being, which is love. It's just love. So I guess that's one of the key things. And then being it rather than thinking it. which is very hard to just do on a podcast, you know, like this is all about talking. But I guess maybe that something comes through between the words, and this is what this is really about. It's about this little gap in which we pause for a moment and we remember God, we remember love, we remember wholeness. And that was the whole purpose of why Jesus rocked up on earth and said, hey guys, when I remember something else than just how to kill each other, so here it is. Teach only love, for that is what you are. Hello? And of course it got twisted and misconstrued. And so he comes with the Course of Miracles. Hey guys, you want to try again? I'll give you a direct experience. Here you are. And off it goes. And then I was actually looking up. I was kind of focusing on this week, and I looked up on YouTube, and you know, there was some there's lots of videos. Course in Miracles explained. This is like, no. It doesn't need to be explained. It needs to be practiced. And you know, to heal is to make happy. And you know, if you're teaching Course in Miracles and you're not happy yourself, then you're like sending up this double message. And it's really about feeling this inner joy that is in there all the time. Like right now in you, Barry, it's just this unspeakable love and joy that's freaking incredible. If you could just pause and drop all the ideas about anything, there you are. Like crash course on A Course in Miracles is like this. Right now, drop everything you think you know, and there is a blank space, and then you just feel yourself. And if you are capable of feeling, you will begin to feel this vibration that more you can allow it, the more it leaves you, which is that inner light. It's not like a light, like bulb, but it's more like an inner joy that begins to vibrate within your being. And then it can get so intense that it's a little bit hard to, if your body is really dense on some level, so a bit of a purification is necessary. But if you can allow this vibration to take over, you'll begin to realize that the whole thing is got nothing to do with concepts, with spiritual concepts. Ego loves concepts. Ego loves spirituality, you know. We're talking about street smart spirituality. Yeah, is that what we call it? And you know, in there is just this peace comes over you. And yeah, there's absolutely nothing else you need. There's a beautiful introduction to Course of Love, Course in Miracles, beg your pardon. Let me just find that. Introduction says, here we go, chapter 1. Let me read this. This is so amazing. If I can find it. Here, introduction. So it says, this is a Course of Miracles. It is a required course. The only time you take in is voluntary. You know, you can continue being as you are, or you can just speed yourself up a little bit. And then it goes on, and then it goes, the course does not aim at teaching meaning of love, for that is beyond what can be taught. Why? Because that's what you are. You don't need to be taught love. You just have to remember it. It does aim, however, at removing the blocks to the awareness of love's presence, which is your natural inheritance. So this thing is already in you, and you have this wall in between it and you, and it's your mind created this wall because it wants to be individual, it won't be itself. And yet, when you get in touch with this love's presence, you will really remember who you are, and you don't have to change yourself from like, I am more cold than I've ever been. I'm just myself. I do whatever I want. I don't hurt anyone because why would I? And I'm just a happy dude for no reason, you know. Because when you're in the presence of this love, you can only be happy. And if you're not happy, then you're not in the presence of this love, and something else is driving you in your head. And yeah, you don't have to do that to yourself unless that's what you like to do. And then he says in here that the opposite of love is fear, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So there's a bit of a danger with this one, because people trying to get rid of the fear and they just think only love is real. But he says, but what is all-encompassing can have no opposite. So if love is has no opposite, you know, or you, even if you feel fear, then just let yourself feel the fear and don't oppose it. And then you realize if you don't oppose your fear or your feelings or anything that's going on in you, it will just express itself and you'll be done with it. And it will be just that. So eventually you begin to see that it's only your natural inheritance that is leaving you. And that is really, the kingdom is within. The kingdom of heaven is within you. All you got to find it and then give it. Because if you don't give it, you choke on it. And I think that's what happens with people with depression and all sorts of sicknesses, is basically, and each of us has a gift, specific gift to give, and if we don't give it, we become sick ourselves. So one thing how to actually get in touch with this kingdom is to, even so you might not know what it exactly is, just get this idea that you want it for everyone, that you want to live within the kingdom. But this kingdom is within, and when it awakens, you will see it everywhere. And until this happens, you will be still searching for something. Well, when the kingdom comes, it's like the second coming. You come again as whole. As a wholeness.
That's a good segue. Can you share some of your experiences that you had when you went through your own personal 40 days and 40 nights?
Oh yeah. So I was sitting here, and one of my friends said to me, have a look at this Course of Love. And she said, well, you will frown at it, but just stick with it. And so I read it, and I got to chapter 1, paragraph 10. It says, resign as your own teacher, says Jesus, right? Accept me as your teacher, and I'll teach you, I'll teach you who you are. And it's like, you can't do this without me. You can try it again in countless ways, but you will not succeed. Why? Because it's impossible. And I go, well, if it's impossible, then sure, I give up. And then, boom, like I closed my eyes, opened my eyes, and everything was different. Like everything was different. I was in the same room, but it didn't look the same. And then I just sat there, and I'm going like, oh my God, what's going on? And my friend came here, and he thought I was on drugs. And I said, well, I'm not on drugs, just something happened. It's just incredible. And next minute I said something to him, and next minute he was in tears. And in the evening, I began to have this incredible vibration in my feet. And I thought, wow, this is exciting. Something really different is happening to me. And then The next day, the vibration was up to my ankles. And I'm going, wow, this is getting quite intense. And at day 3, I was in absolute ecstasy of being. And I thought, if this is going to keep going the way it is going, I'm not going to be able to handle myself. Day 4, yep, it increased again. And day 5, I said, I seriously need to distract myself from this because this is way too intense. It was just like having a constant orgasm, or I'd say like a pre-orgasmic state. And my whole body began to reverberate. And it was just when the Olympic Games were on. And I thought I need to seriously distract myself. And so I went to another room and I turned on telly. And the Olympics in Rio were on. And I said, I need to escape this. And I turned on the telly and there is this big statue of Jesus with his open arms. I'm going like, oh, I can't escape this. So I just spread my arms, same as he and as that statue does. And I was having some kind of like a heart palpitations that day. And as soon as I opened my arms, the palpitations stopped and energy could really flow through my body better. And so I just sat there with my arms open and I watched the Olympics. But it was amazing how in that very moment that statue of Jesus just rocked up. And this went on and on for days. I could no longer read the Course of Love. I was just completely blown away. All the lessons from A Course of Miracles just suddenly went like, I was like, oh, I get it. This is the experience the Course of Miracles was pointing to. And you have to remember one thing. Course of Miracles is a mind training. It helps you to train your mind so you can have this experience without driving yourself crazy. Because I think you can have this experience, and if you don't know what's going on and what it is, it can be scary. And people, they call it fear of God, but really it's such an intense experience, and if you haven't trained your mind a little bit, it can really overpower you, and then you can virtually hurt yourself in that. So peace of God for me wasn't like this little peaceful experience. This was like an experience of very, very intense vibratory state of being that's going on all the time. I can close my eyes and be there. It's always there. It never disappears unless I begin to focus somewhere else or I start looking into more dense vibrations. Then I become a little bit more dense, but I never get really lost because I remember really fast. It's like, hang on a second. The truth is true and nothing else is true. Where is the truth? Boom, there it is. And my mind stops and this experience takes over. About day 32, it's kind of started to be a little bit less intense, which was more like a blessing. And then at day 40, it turned into like a normal state of being, but I never really lost it. This thing is with me always and forever. So that's one of these experiences for sure. But this was probably the most intense experience I've ever had with transformation.
And for those people that aren't aware that there is an actual section in the Course of Love called 40 Days and 40 Nights, and that is on our YouTube channel. So if you want to get a taste of A Course of Love, 40 Days and 40 Nights is at the end of the book. But if you want it, you'll get a very good taste of the essence of the book just by listening to that. But that was that must have been quite an experience.
Yeah, definitely. Talk about an unspeakable love that takes over virtually. Like my mind could not interfere with it. And every time it did, it would hurt itself. You know, like you can't kill God, no matter what you do.
Did you ever try and, when that was happening, did you ever try and sit down, meditate, and direct that energy anywhere?
You don't direct anything; it was directing you. Like, it takes you in a place where you actually want to be.
So it was not a Kundalini awakening then. I guess that's what I'm asking.
Well, Kundalini awakening. This was like Kundalini awakening is like this little energy down your spine, going up your spine. This was like sitting in a cauldron, like sitting in this wide funnel, and energy basically flowing from the feet up through my head, and showering over, coming down, and just that was a constant state of being. There's nothing I had to do. There's a chapter in A Course in Miracles says, I need do nothing. That was it. But you can't do that. You know, every time you're trying to do nothing, you're doing that. So you get to a place where this is doing you, and it's doing you the way you want to be done. It's like, you know, people like being loved a certain way, you know. You have, you know, for you to experience love, if someone does certain things to you, feel like, oh, I feel loved right now. And we all have a different ways how that really satisfies us. This is like, it knows what makes you happy. It gives you everything that you want, you know, and it gives it to you before you even can figure it out. It's really quite amazing. Like this kingdom of heaven is, oh my God, it's like seek only that. And do not let any theology, any freaking spiritual concepts just ridiculous, you know. The kingdom is within you. Find it and then give it. And that was probably one of the things I had to learn in those 40 days, if anything, is to not hold on to it. And this is one of those things that happens to people, you know, they have an experience for a day or 2 or 3 or 5, a week, amazing state of being and openness and flow, and they don't want to eat, they don't need anything, they're fully fulfilled, totally sustained by the love of God. But then they go like, oh my God, I've got to hold on to this, I want this forever. And that step kills it. It's just exactly how you get rid of it. So to maintain it, you got to give it. You got to give it away. So to everyone, I offer this, you know. And it's not that anyone needs it, because everyone has this love. Even the concept of I love you kind of went out of the window, because you have this same thing in you, and so is everyone else. And so if I am love, I don't need anyone to love me, really. Like, I can go into the human state and go, yeah, it's nice to be loved by someone else. But if that someone else is not there, I'm fine. I don't need it. It's lovely if it's there. If someone else is awake and we meet together and we share this state of being, it creates an incredible, it merges into something that's incredibly magnified. But you don't need it. Like someone said to me, I love you. And I go like, do you know what? No thanks. Because whatever you think a love is, doesn't feel good to me. You know? It's like you sit in this perfect pool of exact temperature and exact color and exact joy that you enjoy. And then someone else comes with their own thing and they dump it into you. Like, I love you. Here is my water. I said like, hey, you just over flooded my pool. I didn't need that. Thank you. So it's an incredible thing, like the whole I love you thing just out of the window. You are love. So who is the I who would love someone else? Another thing is that love, the real love, give of itself. It's not that you even have to do anything. That's the whole thing of like, I need to nothing. It's just simply in this, and it gives of itself, and anyone with enough receptivity will pick it up, and or they remember their own love. I think that's what also, like when people fall in love, they actually have a holy instant. They remember God with another person, and then they begin to love that person, thinking that that was what caused it, but it was really they just remembered who they are. And also, like Jesus says, you know, the kingdom of heaven is kingdom. My kingdom is not of this world, and it's true because you have this experience, and then you're trying to implement it into this density. Good luck. I'd say good luck. It's just like you can't. It's not of this world, and then we try to fit it into these parameters of love. And you know, now that you're in love with me, I had once hanging out with this guy. He said he used to use this line saying to the man would say to a woman, says like, and now that you have this undying love for me, what it is that I can't do tomorrow that I can do still today. And yeah, it's the minute you're in love with somebody, there is now these worldly belief systems, what one has to do for the other to fit into those parameters, and that's not really the real love. It's a conditional love because it's based on conditions. How's that so far?
Good. I'm just thinking, let's try and wrap it up in about 5 minutes. Last week we went like an hour and a half, and maybe this week we can try and keep it down to 45 to 60 minutes.
Yeah.
And so if you've got any closing thoughts, why don't you go ahead?
Well, I'd like to introduce something to the lessons of A Course in Miracles because they are incredible. So lesson number 1 says, nothing I see means anything. Then lesson 2 is, because I have given everything I see all the meaning that it has for me. And then lesson 3 says, and therefore, I don't understand anything I see. And these lessons are incredible. They're really quantum shifts in perception. Imagine that everything you see, you have given all the meaning that it has for you. And that's why this world is not understandable. And that's why it's crazy. And we're trying to put a meaning on it, but it's impossible. It's a meaningless world. Because our thoughts about the world are meaningless. And so I find these lessons are absolutely profound. And no matter how many times I look at them, they give me a brand new experience of another facet of awakening. So yeah, lesson a day, very simple. You recorded some of those now, which is great. I can't wait when the whole Course Miracle lessons are on the YouTube, so they can be used to practice. So yeah, for me lessons were always the most powerful, and so I warmly recommend those. So if I have any lasting thoughts, if you want to really do some profound spiritual psychotherapy where you undo your mind until you remember God, the lessons are just impeccable, beyond comprehension, really. So that would be the last thing I had to say about that, just to do the daily practice until you begin to have these direct experiences of love that have nothing to do with concepts.
And they're short, they're succinct.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, they're multi-layered. I mean, they're beautiful. You don't have to spend 2 hours sitting in the morning doing lessons. You just do your lesson, and then, like you said, get that software app or something that'll remind you throughout the day, because before you know it, it's time to eat dinner, and before you know it, it's time to go to bed, and you've only done it once.
Yeah.
So spend a little dedication on it.
Yeah, I changed my days around this. I started my lessons usually in the evening. I would start my new lesson in the evening, and then so I would actually sleep on it, and I found that was really powerful. And then in the morning I read it one more time, and then obviously apply it during the day. But I did have this thing where I would do it the night before, and I would kind of wake up with that releasing thought on my mind. Yeah, but they're incredible. They really are.
I wonder if it'd work out to do like a nighttime sleep meditation where it's just repeated over and over again with binaural beats or like waves in the background for like half hour for people who want to try and do it while they're sleeping.
Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't bother. I think it's just that thing to do it consciously. And sure, there are ways and people doing crazy stuff. I think people do more than they really have to. The awakening is very simple. To forgive, all you have to do is decide to forgive. You forgive, you're releasing density. So if you can't forgive somebody, it's only because you don't want to. The minute you have too much pain around it, you will do it, and then you will have a miracle. So really, Course in Miracles is really a forgiveness book, and it's really just a matter of motivation. Did you let your grievances and your stuff go? And once you empty of everything, you just simply remember who you are. Bingo.
Excellent. Well, it's a couple of little reminders. We do have the Course in Miracles daily lessons up on the YouTube channel. We've got the 40 Days and 40 Nights. Just search the playlist. And like I said, we've got that email address in case anybody's got any questions. But unless Cole's got anything else to add, we'll wrap it up for this Friday. Anything else to add there, Cole?
Amen.
Amen. Fair enough. All right. Thanks for giving us a listen, and we'll see you all next weekend.